Move on to our first ingredient in this recipe on what every online class should have. Let us check and process the meat first, the what to teach. Even if a curriculum has been put in place for years, it actually does not remain absolutely constant. There are negotiable and non-negotiable components we have to revisit, all the more when adjustments have been added to accommodate the changes on our teaching learning setup from physical campuses to blended or virtual forums. We have to revisit the non-negotiable standards, benchmarks, outcomes, and even list of required topics and or readings. Are there new notes, updates, or even directives? If we have not done so and classes have started, it is still not too late to make sure we have the main areas addressed and assure ourselves and our students that the lessons we have prepared meet curriculum demands. The next document we must check is the assessment policy. This document dictates how students are graded. It defines the types of assessment tasks we prepare and require our students to work on and complete. It supports our answer to the familiar question every parent asks: how is my child doing this school year? The assessment policy guides us to how we are to meet standards and our outcomes stipulated in the curriculum. Here is a bonus tip to reward your attention and patient ears.
A bonus tip? You didn't say anything about this earlier.
Do chef tell us their secrets?
Of course not.
Telling is not teaching, said the land before time dinosaurs. Only those who view the video from start to end would know. Whatever assessment policy we may be given, our effective teaching experience tells us that we have to keep our assessment tasks varied and balanced. Speaking for the language and literature teachers, let us make sure that our assessment tasks evaluate all 4 macro skills plus presentation. If we are required 2 summative assessment tasks, then we check if 1 evaluates application of listening skills to complete a bigger spoken presentation as final output. We can assign students to breakout rooms to practice with their peers, giving them feedback based on the given rubrics. We check if the other evaluates depth of reading comprehension to complete a decent length of written output, creative or generic. We can get a Padlet running to have students share ideas with everyone in class and even with their peers from a different time zone if we are to foster internationalism. We can use the same page to publish their final work and provide them with a rewarding sense of accomplishment. 4 macro communication skills: listening, speaking, reading, writing. So there is always 1 spoken summative assessment task and another written summative assessment task. That's being balanced.
Quite a lot for a bonus tip.
The reason why it is called a bonus. I have a former superintendent I worked with to thank for this knowledge and experience. In 2014, Mr. T asked me to organize academic summer school in an online setup. I already experienced being the student in different online courses and workshops and MOOCs. I know which classes were fun and memorable, and I also know which classes were confusing. Nonetheless, Mr. T's request brought me to do some research. I learned what every online program should have. When we opened our academic summer school, it was not perfect, but the general flow was pretty strong. We invited students from other schools to join us a year later. When the pandemic hit, I came to work with a university as a language consultant. It was more of an outreach service. I organized virtual classrooms, met hundreds of students, ran assessment tasks, and gave feedback. I can no longer fully remember when that point of realization came. Something was amiss. Despite being consistent with deadlines, when to share materials to students, and when their works were expected, overall pacing and progress was a drag. What did I miss? After some lengthy reflection, I came face to face with Mr. T's confidence in getting an online academic summer school program running. Our school had a well-established assessment policy and well-formulated and constantly monitored acceptable use policy, AUP. I worked on another research, more of a personal investigation, to prove the importance, the need to have an AUP, an acceptable use policy. Please check the description box for the link to my blog published on May 29th of 2020. The current school I am working with had a similar loophole. By and by, policies were made, but I already came up with my own document to sort of stand as temporary acceptable use policy, especially when the institution we are with has to get one still. This document could stay even if an acceptable use policy is already made. to echo and serve as a reminder to students and their parents about existing rules. I first called the document I created as a learning contract, but it sounded like some legal case for my students and myself. I renamed it as our learning agreement. I formatted this agreement in a Google form my students and their parents could sign electronically. Last school year, I asked the class to complete it no later than the end of the first week of school. This document now serves two purposes. 1. Establish a sense of online safety, and 2. Help build class routines. I am still to revisit that document to add changes. If you wish to have a copy, please send me your request via email ThruPages@gmail.com. Speaking of online safety, how do we assure our learners a safe virtual learning environment? This is still part of safeguarding the content we teach. Whenever we type keeping students safe online or any similar search keywords, pages that will show always note a tip or point related to acceptable use policies. Those policies exist to keep all stakeholders protected. The second bullet usually discusses a data privacy law. We should find time to be knowledgeable about its scope. Again, such rules are put in place to protect us as we navigate the vast jungle of the internet. One focal point shared by the artofeducation.edu is to avoid publicly sharing students' names. Whenever we have to, most of the time, class nicknames are more than enough. The same thing goes with their photographs. Whenever we could avoid doing so, we should not post photos containing our students' faces. We can also blur them out. Whenever we have to, we should make sure that we have their consent and their parents' or guardians' consent. We have to teach and remind them of online privacy always. Most of them, if not all of them, already know why they should not share their passwords, personal information, addresses, or even complete names with just anybody or any page online. The face and scope of the internet is constantly changing. StaySafeOnline.org stressed how we always face new threats.
Having new COVID-19 variants is not a new thing there.
They suggest that we spend time with our students to check how their favorite sites and apps store their information. What differentiates us, their teachers, from the advice their friends give them is our years of experience. Our mistakes have made us wiser. Online development never stops. As StaySafeOnline.org wrote, we have to make sure our students can come to us about technical concerns they have. They added that the more we know, the more we can help. The next reminder is a favorite. Our schools invest and will continue to invest on learning management systems and school-wide communication applications like Google Suite. They cost a lot. Last time I checked, we pay $4 per user. That is $4 per teacher, per student, per month. Aside from the cost, we are assured of our online identities being protected when we use our school accounts.
Why did we mention the acceptable use policy and related policies earlier?
That's the reason. Yes, to be protected. We also get to use more features once we make good use of what our schools have paid for the sake of learning. The last tip we have for online safety is from GoGuardian.com. They highlighted how our students should become critical consumers and users of information and technology. We usually disregard the first part of hyperlinks we share and access. We should stop doing so. HTTP sites are more vulnerable to hackers and other online threats. HTTPS.
Notice the big S, it means big.
HTTPS sites are secured. Next time we ask students to sign into sites and enter personal details, we should remember to pause and show them how we click the search bar one more time to check if it is really an HTTPS site. The next ingredient looks into our vegetables, familiar veggies.
I don't actually eat a lot of vegetables, but here I can pretend I'm a good vegetarian.
In our online classes, these veggies are our expectations and routines. The word expectation has a more positive vibe, right? I always listen to the sound and meta sound of words.
Don't you do the same?
We used to call them rules and procedures. The AUP, the assessment policy, other related policies, and the learning agreement I created and mentioned earlier all shape and echo our class expectations. Our students should understand why we share with them expectations we identify and share these expectations at the beginning of a school year. year, and we can always mention them again at the beginning of every quarter or every semester. We also know how successful people keep the end in mind. Having clear and high expectations is further emphasized when we have students discuss with us why we teach them and why they have to learn lesson we prepare for them. If we tap on concept-based learning by Rachel French, we will be reminded how we do not tell, but we lead all students to discover connections, making the learning process more exciting and meaningful. Students are more willing to complete requirements when they have accountability. How does this look like? Effective teachers introduce a learning unit with a final summative assessment task that students are to produce and submit by the end of the said unit.
And in mine, remember?
Most of us use to emphasize the objectives, the essential questions, the understandings, but that is telling. And again, telling is not teaching. To share accountability, we can have students participate in planning how everyone in class is to reach the end mark. We share with them a sample of the final output. We share with them the overall pacing. We share with them the formative tasks.
That should not be graded.
Formative tasks they have to work on. Then, we ask all students if the steps we have laid out are really helpful to get them to what we want from them. Most of the time, they would agree. They would request to push the deadline to a later date considering other projects. They would suggest to add options and/or they would share alternatives. And later on, they share with us and show their understandings, the big takeaways from our lessons, without us telling them what they are. I always look forward to these intellectual academic negotiations and realizations. Do they not encourage students to take a more active approach to learn better?
I see you nodding.
It is now doubly tough when having no routine is seemingly becoming the new routine. We have to guide our students. We have to act as their more consistent, reliable anchors. Gone are the days of surprise test or pop quiz. The pandemic has killed the meaning of the word surprise in our teaching learning areas, virtual or physical. We should be wary when students feel surprised because it could mean that at some point they were left on their own. To stay true to our expectations, build on routines, and extend how we care for our students, we have to be redundant. Please feel free to follow the link in the description box to visit our post on how to prepare for day 1 of online classes. Here's another bonus tip.
Yeah!
I know you are smiling.
That was quite a while since the first one.
Do not upload files to your school's learning portal or learning management system. Let's just share links. Let the real virtual files
What an oxymoron. Real virtual files.
be organized in our school Google Drive. Let me explain a bit. Why not in different storage areas, even if they are in the cloud?
Why not store our materials, our files in different clouds?
It is not enough that we only have one path to access class materials. All of our files can be organized in one Google folder with one link shared only with our students. See how it gets easier if we all use the same school email ad. This link to one folder for one class saved in our Google Drive can be shared with students through the LMS, through any other web page that we can also easily send them via email whenever the LMS or the school learning portal or the school website goes down for maintenance or whatever other reason. We can also share them the link to that class go-to folder through our blogs, former Hangouts, now Google Chats, or other forms of conversation threads. Most of us discourage the use of the more personal Messenger or Facebook. Why? We need to help our students get organized, and we do not want to get their social and academic lives mixed up.
Do we?
Would we want our team, unit, or school administrators go stalking and reaching us through Messenger or Facebook?
Are you shaking your head? Good. Unless that means yes.
We can easily overdo things though. Here is our last ingredient, which is just as important. I hear you. A dash of flavor. We have to keep ourselves healthy to model healthy habits to our learners.
I'm also guilty of being the fangless vampire having midnight conversations with the younger fangless vampires.
It was not entirely our fault, nor our students. No matter how much we carefully plan how our lessons and assessment tasks should run, there will always be something passed as
Urgent!
by some administrators. These
Urgent.
matters always disrupt healthy learning flow.
I hope they would know that, and I hope they hear this.
At least our recipe today could now minimize their ill effects. Still, part of surviving in this pandemically affected world is being flexible, not to any extent near the destruction of our natural body clocks. What we have listed in our post entitled 5 Healthy Habits of Successful Online Learners,
And please follow the link we included in our description box.
they were all gathered from different resources. They apply to us too, the teachers, the educators. First habit is to get enough sleep.
What is enough for hard-working adults like us? 7 or 9 hours?
Most of us may be surviving just having 5 hours of sleep. Second habit is to eat well. What did I just say?
Let us emphasize the second word, the second syllable, well.
Let's take note that it did not say eat a lot or eat too little. If one is teaching from home, this is simply difficult.
Why?
Imagine you are running your online class or preparing for one and your workstation is next to your kitchen,
It is tough.
based on personal experience. Third habit is to stay hydrated. I explained my strategies in the post. Let me reiterate the reasons. Not to only drink water, but to get up and move and take a break in so doing. Fourth habit is to stretch and walk to avoid online teaching and learning injuries.
Let us take a break, okay?
This is the reason why we created this video and added chapter markers. This post and the markers are meant to allow us to replay, review things, and to take a pause, a short break. I would not feel insulted or hurt if you take a pause now.
Click that button, tap that button.
Please keep this page open though. The last habit is to choose not to be alone, and I have just completed this particular habit. By creating this video, I'm no longer alone. I have laid out on the table all these ideas, all these aspects, all these suggestions with you. If you have any specific media literacy topic you want us to include, please mention them in your comment.